All right, you ready? No? You always do such a good job. You're like a natural. You just
I'm going to start being like, nope.
Nope. As a matter of fact, I'm not. Ready or not, here it comes.
Yeah, Steve's like, are you doing okay when you got back from vacation? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Went through hell. You know the best part about going through hell is living through your worst nightmares. And that was my nightmare.
Let's talk about it.
The boss is gone. The ATF comes into audit and I'm weeks behind in my paperwork and like not looking like I'm going to catch up anytime soon. Sure enough, that happened. That was what, the third week of May this year, 2021. And so they usually send a team of 3 people. It takes 5 business days to audit. I got a team of 2. And by the end of 5 business days, they were like, please get us out of here. I'm like, welcome to my world, kiddos.
So you like trapped them in.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world. And at first they're thinking, boy, I bet she's nervous, which I'm sure you were.
Oh yeah.
Wow, they just wanted out of there. So what was that like? Like, did they just walk in?
Yeah, they come in, they're normal people. They look like any other normal person you would ever meet. In fact, you've probably sat down at a coffee shop next to one or at a bar and had a drink right next to one, and you never would have known what they did for a living. You know, you don't ever sit there and discuss, oh, hey, yeah, I wash windows at the Royals Stadium, or I am a ER nurse at Research Med Center, or whatever. So I like asking people what they do as their day jobs. I've actually met some DEA agents having over coffee.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is interesting people, and they're cool to get to talk to and know. Unfortunately, they're here to do a job, and it is a job to find mistakes.
And they're with the ATF?
Yeah.
That's who does those audits? Okay.
Yeah, so they're the Industry Operations Investigators, IOIs. And you have a senior IOI that they all answer to, and then you have the head guy or girl for your local area. So Kansas City has 2 branches. They have Kansas auditors, and then they have Missouri auditors, and they quarter, at least in Missouri, they quarter the state up and send teams into quadrants and say, okay, you got to do the ones with the high volume, take more than one person. But if it's just a guy or a gal that has a license out of their home, they're doing gunsmithing work or just a couple gun sales here and there throughout the year, they'll send one auditor. And you generally get no warning whatsoever. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's like you wake up and be like, oh, hey, today is a Tuesday and it's raining, and oh yeah, hey, these guys, what can I help you find today? And they're like, hey, we're here to look at your books. I'm like, well, I know you, Dan, but who's the new kid? And he's like, new kid? I've been here for 3 years. Like, this is your first audit at this store. You're the new kid. And until you have met everybody that's got an FFL, you're the new kid.
Right.
So the new kid was the senior lead. He was the one that, Dan was helping him do the audit. He's the one that's got to file the actual reports and everything. And I love it because you tell people, oh, the ATF's here. We're having an audit. And right for the door they go.
I might turn around and walk out myself. If you told me that, like if I came in and you said that, I think I'd turn around. And I don't know why I would. I think I would. I'd turn around and walk out.
So Friday, a couple weeks ago,
I definitely wouldn't buy a gun.
Oh, no, see, that's the easy part. No, it's the easy part because they're there to observe how we do business. Like, they're looking for us doing shady, underhanded, not so cool stuff.
So they follow you around the store, or how do they watch it? So it's not just an audit of your books, it's really an audit
of the physical function. Yeah, it's a physical inventory. So they're going to just be kind of listening in while you're running the shop, while you're doing business, while you're helping customers, and if you're like, hey, Well, that's a really good question. I don't know about transferring guns to a Florida resident on a Florida ID. Hey, Dan, you think you could help me out with that?
Did you really?
Oh God, I throw them all the hearts. I have had them jump in on our behalf as well with customers who are getting very annoyed, thinking that we are the problem with something, and that is why they're not passing their background check. And once that paperwork's signed and filled out, it doesn't leave the store. I had a customer come in very upset that I could not give him an actual copy of his paperwork that he signed and everything. I'm like, look, I can give you everything to go online, but that one that you signed that doesn't go anywhere. That's part of permanent records. That gets kept for 20 years until we can bomb them all in a fire or something. So, and yeah, so one of the agents hopped in and was like, look, you tell me exactly where it says and which statute, but the lawyer that you paid is telling you the wrong stuff and you need to get your money back. So I'm like, yeah! Thanks!
Everybody's a legal expert when they're upset, aren't they?
Very, very, very much so. Yeah, I didn't go to law
I guess
school.
that would have been kind of nice. I didn't either. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I probably should have.
It's
I
really.
think we'd both be a little more annoying to have you.
I don't know. I know there are some lawyers that aren't so
My
bad.
sister-in-law's the lawyer. She's wonderful. Though.
Okay. All right.
She's wonderful. So they come in. They kind of just look at how you're doing.
Yeah.
They go through your book.
Physical inventory audit. I think I gave.
Like, does it stress you? I mean, I'm sure it is stressful, but is there a point where you're kind of like, you know what, I got this? And,
no. The point where you realize you've got this
is when they leave?
That's when it gets worse. You're like, well, now I have a whole new set of rules to play by. Because it's a little bit different. And I can only speak to the auditors that I have had at this business premise location here in Raytown, Missouri. I cannot speak to anyone else's audits anywhere in the U.S. and what their agents are like. I know some people are really cool with their auditors, and other people are like, they're the devil incarnate.
I would think it is a lot like that, because I've heard people say that they've had issues with the IRS and they're really nice. I had an issue with I was leading a job, and the lady essentially came in and essentially threatened to shut us down. And I said, in a kind way, I said, oh, this must be really hard for you doing these kind of things. And she looked at me straight in the eyes. She was like, oh no, I love this. I thought it takes a special kind, So I'm glad you got the good ones. Now do you kind of typically, because you mentioned a guy named Dan, is that, so you know it, so you're kind of getting the same.
So I've had.
You're a very friendly person. I couldn't imagine people being very.
Amy, Chris, Dan, Kevin, Julie are the main auditors. New kid's name.
New kid. Let's call him New Kid.
New kid. No, I know his name, but he won't use mine, so I'm going to call him Inspector Beans. No, he's really cool. And plus, he let me cost him with my notebook multiple times, just whacking at him. So
it sounds like a pretty peaceful process, at least with the group you got.
They're good sports, and they're there to train us to do our jobs better. Now, it's not easy.
That's cool,
because
that seems like a good function of the ATF, to be quite honest.
It really is. But here's the problem. Your laws for each state change. Like, we may not be changing Missouri state laws right at this very moment, but in another state, their laws have changed, and what was once reciprocal between our state and your state is no longer cool. And so, in addition to not just logging all the guns, we kind of have to be aware of everything else that's going on, and it's too much to keep up on.
Well, and it seems like it's changing so quickly too.
That's another thing. And so I joke that, with every single regime change, so the new leader and overlord has new directives for this branch of the ATF, and the directors will change, and the bosses and the, supervisors and everybody they answer to will change over time too. And each new person has a slightly different way that they would interpret a rule, or how they believe it should be interpreted. And so you get some different of opinions, and what used to be cool for the last 4 or 5 years, your last previous bunch of audits, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you're gonna have to start changing up the way you do this. Let's do it like this from now on.
Now, how is it changed? That's interesting, because I never thought of that. But you've been doing this a long time, so you've gone through several regime changes, so to say.
I don't know.
Has there been any, what's significantly different now? Is this your first audit since this year?
Yeah, so you can, I don't know exactly how frequently they can audit. I think it's 12 months or more. And some people will go decades without an audit. And that's just the luck of their draw and just the volume that they do. We did a ton of volume, and when we reported for our renewal of the license, they usually come out and they're like, okay, you guys moved 6,000 guns. Let's see how you're doing that, and let's see the order in which you're doing that.
Yeah,
so there's a few things that could be better.
Is there something different? So this is the first one you've had since the inauguration. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything different?
I heard a rumor. I'm not entirely certain it's true, but I guess you could verify that if you looked up in the stimulus package that's going out to everybody, there's some fine print in there that says some of the stimulus money will be allocated to the ATF for very heavy investigative audits. And I have not verified that to be true or false yet. Like I said, that is just a rumor. Rumors aren't proven true. Okay, so let me preface this. It's a rumor, but I'm sure we could go verify that and see what the heck is up.
Well, let me ask this: was this last audit a very heavy, thorough? Did it seem heavier in any way, or especially since you had the new guy?
I think I would have considered it a heavy audit if they had maybe doubled the people that they had allocated to our store. Like I said, I usually get 3 auditors, and it takes them 5 days to go through everything. This time we had 2, so we were down 1, and they were still only here for the 5 business days. I think they only went through all of this year's paperwork and the last 6 months of 2020, so from December 2020 back to June, and they're checking for mistakes on our paperwork. Did somebody say, yes, I'm a fugitive for justice, and you guys still ran him anyway? What the heck gives with that? No, that didn't happen. But I'm saying these are some of the things that you could potentially find.
Interesting.
So you just, as long as you're doing everything right, you really don't have anything to worry about. And they go through, and of course, things move around here. It looks like the exact same backdrop you have seen in every single one of these videos.
As funny as I've edited, I could tell they've moved around too. Yeah.
It's not.
I agree.
It's not. There's all new stuff coming and going, and it's not that it changes on a day or a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a yearly basis. This is stuff that moves on a daily basis. This is gun sales. This is not gun storage at all. So you'll show a customer a gun, and you'll pick it up, and somebody else will pick up another gun off the rack and show another customer, and then the next thing you know, the guns go back in different places. There's used to be an order to things. So as we are selling things to the customers, they're trying to do a physical inventory audit so things get missed. And then they're like, hey, we got 17 places in your 30 books and we can't locate these guns. Can you track those down for us? Which is like, where I'm like, heck yes, I can. As
a matter of fact, I can.
As a matter of fact, why, thank you. And then if I can't figure it out, I'm like, Steve, this is your handwriting. Tell me what happened here on this day when I wasn't here at the shop. And he goes, that's like over a year ago, Maggie. How am I? I'm like, well, who's this and who's this and how'd this wind up here twice? And, oh, I remember. I'm like, thank you for a boss that doesn't have early onset dementia. So
Well, I'm glad you survived it. It seems like you did it in good spirits, as always. You're always in good spirits. But thank you for sharing that with us. That's interesting. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but hopefully it'll be a while before the next one.
You know, I'm not sorry, because I have learned that you can live through your worst nightmares. It's hell. It really, truly is living hell. But when you look around, you see that you're right there in hell, but all of your friends are right there with you too. So really, it's not the worst place you could be.
If I would have walked in and they were here, I would have turned around and walked out.
I would have been like, nope, oh, I got a good one. So one of our regular customers that recently retired his FFL, he's been doing this for decades, much older gentleman, and I'm like, I'm so glad to see you. You're just the person I needed today. He's great, upbeat fella. And so I go over and give him a hug, and he's like, well, what's wrong, sugar? And I'm like, ATF audit. He goes, where? Here? Now? Yeah, they're here auditing. Well, let me out of my, I want to give them a piece of my mind. So,
oh my goodness. Like, this isn't helpful at all.
I'm like, well, I go, what kind of questions do you have that you think they might be able to answer? And I want to ask them these questions. So he walks into the conference room and starts talking to them, and they go, hey, Don.
They know him.
They knew him. They were the ones that came to collect his books and his paperwork when he turned in his FFL and ceased business operations when he retired, basically. And they're like, he goes, yeah, I know. I met you. I came and picked up your books to ship them off to the Out of Business Records Center. You don't remember us? We've both done audits for you. And he's like, well, hell, no, I don't write. Well, maybe I do. Maybe you look a little familiar. So that was really funny. And then I was able to kind of shove him out the door, and he's still saying his goodbyes as he's meandering out the front, and they're sneaking across to my office. Is he gone yet? Is he gone?
Please get us away from that guy.
I'm like, I don't know. Hey, Don, are you still here?
Well, Maggie, I'm really glad you made it through, and it seems like you came out much stronger on the other side.
You know, I'm not going to complain. We're still here. We find out Tuesday, this coming Tuesday is the very last day, is the final wrap-up. They go over those 17 guns that I had to find out of my 30 books.
Oh, so they're coming back on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, next time we talk, we'll talk about how the final
report went, and. Yeah. Which reminds me, would you have any questions for me to ask them? I keep a list and I keep a bunch of notes.
We should throw this out for people to ask. Like, in the comments below.
These guys.
I'll put this video out today.
These guys don't make the rules. They are just there to follow them. So please just realize that, you know, you don't flame them. They're normal people. They're just here to audit and make sure that I'm doing my job correctly. They're checking the gun librarian's work. That's really all they're here to do. If you have questions or something that I can put forth to them, I will happily do that.
Put in the comments for sure. That's a good idea.
We'll come back and answer. Great. Thread them in something. I'll put a high internet.
ATF question.
Hi, internet! ATF questions go here. So, yeah, maybe something like that, and we'll see if we can't have a few more questions, comments, and concerns to throw at them.
Sounds good.
Let's make their life
Actually, I might ask some myself. I'd be
pretty
very curious.
pleased.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning, I think they'll be back here.
all
So
right.
they usually get here early, and it'll be quick.
Good.
It'll be a real quick thing.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much. I'm so thankful for you as always, and thanks for taking the time. Like, if I would have known you would have gone through all that this last week, I might have rescheduled. I feel bad, but you seem like you're in good spirits. So.
No, this is great. Hey, you never know how tough you are until you walk through the fire.
That's right.
So
good job, Maggie. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely. I love this. One of my favorite places.